This Decorah Coach Conversation brought to you by Hacker Nelson CPAs and Business Consultants, Riser Financial, Olson Explosives, and Viking State Bank. Getting a boys basketball season preview with head coach Jonathan Carlson. And Coach, one final thought on last year, and this is a totally different group, but you were able to win a boys basketball title for the first time in 22 years last year, really the first time in any of these kids' lifetimes. How much last year was just sending a message that, you know what, it's possible to have a good amount of basketball success in Decorah?
Yeah, first and foremost, Darren, thanks again for having us on. Watched your fall shows, and I think it's great to get a bunch of different perspectives in Northeast Iowa from coaches, and appreciate you doing this for the winter season. So thanks to you and K-Bike and Wennis Communications for everything you guys do for local sports. It's awesome. I think it's probably the best coverage that anybody can provide in the state, so we appreciate that. As far as your question, I think, I think the biggest thing was, we've been at the cusp of doing some good things. We've had some good wins here and there, over the course of the last 10 years, but to actually go out and do it and, see that 2019-20 up there on the, in the gym. I know a bunch of groups that talked about it, wanting to accomplish that, but, actually going out and doing it, I think now kids see that it can be done. And I think that it just infuses confidence with all your kids in the program. A lot of them have siblings that play in those things. So I think that just keeps, keep breeding, hopefully breeding success if us coaches can put players in the right places to be successful.
And of course, you're starting this season in the midst of a global pandemic with COVID-19. How has preseason practice been different this year as compared to years past?
I would say the biggest thing is just, and first and foremost, we're just blessed to be able to have the opportunity. I know, to the north and to the east, there's definitely schools that would be, chopping their right arm off just to be able to be on the practice floor. So we're just lucky to have the opportunity. But as far as things that have been different, we've just tried to structure our practice. We have a facility that's nice enough that, we can structure some practice times a little bit different, just not mixing the groups as much as maybe we have in the past. Groups are staying with each other there. So, and obviously there's some sanitization stuff that you have to do as far as washing basketballs and, stopping throughout practice. We try to stop it at least 2 or 3 times of practice to go sanitize, take a break just to break up that, standing, not necessarily basketball lends itself, not obviously to be standing around as much, but, to be more precise with things. We usually have a pretty good practice plan in the past as it was anyways, but just a few things here and there. But to be honest with you, it hasn't really changed much. Obviously having masks on at certain times during practice is obviously a change, but other than that, it's been pretty seamless for us.
And I know the off season was limited a little bit due to COVID-19, and you really couldn't organize as much as you could in years past. What type of did that change your approach here in this preseason portion of the schedule to make sure just everyone's back on that same page together without as much of an off season as you had in years past?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit. We only had the month of July. Feel fortunate that we had the month of July. To be honest with you, we felt like we got a lot of stuff done in that month. Obviously you're used to going to maybe playing a league once a week and maybe play a few tournaments on weekends. But, we didn't adjust that much, besides for, I think the biggest thing now is our guys, we played in a scrimmage last week, but, other than that, we hadn't played, since last February. So, I think that's maybe the big thing is not having, not being able to gauge yourself against other opponents just to see where you're at. Obviously you can practice and look good in practice, but until you actually go out and play a game and identify where you still need to work on and those things, that's, I would say that's the biggest change.
You look at your team right now, what have you been most happy with here in preseason practice? What has pleased you the most?
I would say, for being a new group, to be honest with you, we've got like 5 seniors that, really have never truly played with some groups that just haven't played together. So I mean, we were a little a little didn't know what to think with meshing those groups together. Obviously, we had some time this summer to see a little bit of that, but so I think overall, just the overall attitudes of the kids, as far as pushing themselves, I mean, our big motto this year, and it's actually a district wide is just to have gratitude that we're actually able to play. And so I think, just knowing that at any point you could get shut down, I think is really maybe created some more sense of urgency at times for certain situations that maybe you haven't seen in the past, with, and even as adults, we're used to that, sometimes some of us are, oh, we got time to be able to do this or that or whatever. And actually, so I think just having some of that urgency sense, I think has been a good thing so far here early in practice.
And you look at the schedule, obviously, it looks a little different than it did maybe 5-10 years ago with the Decorah boys basketball. You were scheduled to open with Waller tonight, but that's not going to happen with the COVID-19 situation. You got Western Dubuque coming to town this weekend. Your schedule is going to challenge you a lot from the outside looking in. Would you agree?
Yeah, it does. Waller would have been obviously a good opponent to start with. We've started, I think, with them the last few years. It definitely, I mean, you look at here prior to Christmas with Western Dubuque on Friday and then, a couple good conference teams in Owine and New Hampton next week. And then walk on and then you throw in a Prairie and a Wapsie Valley at the same time, that's definitely a juggernaut before we hit the new year. So we'll have our hands full with each of those opponents. Obviously, you just take one at a time, and this week it's Western Dubuque.
What's going to be the key to having as much success on the court as possible, other than just staying healthy first and foremost?
I would say the biggest thing, is just how the groups mesh together. I think that's, we've seen some of that, early on here is, you got a sophomore with some juniors and then with some seniors, so I think just, how well, our returning guys step up and how they kind of carry the torch a little bit from last year's group, as I think that's sort of the biggest challenge right now is just, we've got a couple guys that we think that can score, but, who else is going to step up, I think is our biggest question.
And what are going to be some of those characteristics that you saw last year when you had a very successful season? What are the characteristics of that team that you want to really become a staple of this program?
Well, I think a lot of it, is just that obviously offensively we want to play fast. I think you saw that in our scores last year. That's something that we've been trying to do. And I think last year's group really did a good job, adhering to that. So I think, playing fast, getting up and down the court, we want to play an up and down style. And then obviously on the defensive end, each year is going to lend itself a little bit differently as far as your personnel last year. We were a little bit longer at certain positions. And so, I think your defensive identity can stay the same, but as far as your schemes might change a little bit. But I think defensively, being able to rebound, going forward, if we, last year I think we were top 5 in 3A in rebounds for the year. So continuing to get defensive rebounds, because if you don't defensive rebound, you're not going to be able to get and go. So I would say those two things, playing fast on offense and then, being one of the best rebounding teams in the state is something that we want to continue to do.
All right, Coach, here's to another fun and exciting season of Decorah boys basketball. And hopefully you can stay healthy, play as many games as you possibly can this year, and hopefully have a lot of success as well. We wish you best of luck.
Hey, appreciate it, Darren. Thanks much.
This Decorah Coach Conversation brought to you by Riser Financial, Olson Explosives, Hacker Nelson, CPAs and Business Consultants, and Viking State Bank.